After enduring brutal torture, with his fingers and toes cut, bones crushed, and body stabbed countless times, Giju sits on the ground surrounded by a pool of blood. He recalls that it has been 4 days since he was captured by the Iron Guild. Looking at him, Iron Shield remarks that he is a stubborn, mentioning that he would have recruited Giju had he been a little more talented. Calling out to a guild member, Iron Shield instructs him to bring one of Giju's swords. He states that he initially thought to melt and recycle those swords, but has changed his mind, and will now use Giju's own weapon to kill him. Holding Lu, Iron Shield declares that Giju will be buried in this historic gate, which should be an honorable death for a player. With that, he comes closer, intending to kill him. However, as soon as the sword touches Giju's body, he manages to establish a link with Lu, receiving an overwhelming power. Our hero opens his eyes when the sword disappears from the guildmaster, making him confused. Breaking the ropes and rushing away from the stone, Giju summons and points the sword towards Iron Shield, shocking all the members of the guild. However, Iron Shield surprises Giju by grabbing the sword attack with his bare hands. Remarking that Giju was hiding his real strength, Iron Shield states that he felt the Demon King's energy from him, and is not surprised that she took an interest in him. Remarking that the Demon King used him as a plaything, Iron Shield asks how he managed to trick the detection, which even the Demon King cannot do. He states that he still needs to get more information out of him, while Giju thinks that it is time to reveal his true strength. Meanwhile, the girl with a golden mask orders her team to initiate the attack, and an arrow is launched in Iron Shield's direction that pierces his hand. Looking at the arrow, Iron Shield recognizes it as an Artemis arrow, and realizes the attack was by Athena. Just then, Athena and her team reveal themselves, confirming Iron Shield's suspicions. Breaking the arrow, Iron Shield asks if this is a declaration of war against them. In response, Athena, standing at a distance, starts to laugh, remarking that his sense of humor has improved. Swinging her weapon, she states that there hasn't been a time when she wasn't at war, and throws the weapon at Iron Shield. In response, Iron Shield takes out his sword and pierces it into the ground with all his might, creating a giant shield before him, which collides with Athena's weapon, leading to a massive explosion with the force to uproot surrounding trees. While our hero stands momentarily blinded by the storm. Covering his eyes, Iron Shield calls out to Rogers, telling him to keep Giju alive and restrain him. Turning back to Athena, Iron Shield pulls his sword out of the ground, stating that they will put an end to this fight today once and for all. Raising his sword in the air, he orders his guild members to prepare for the battle. An intensive fight breaks between the two groups that shakes the entire forest. Hearing the sounds of the battle, Rogers remarks that he is getting chills listening to the battle, remarking that they really are monsters. Turning to Giju, who stands holding his sword, asking, "Don't you agree?" Looking at him barely standing, ready to fight, Rogers states that their guild master instructed him to keep Giju alive. However, no one would blame him if he accidentally killed him. With that, Rogers leaps up and disappears from Giju's sight, taking him by surprise. Arriving behind him, Rogers states that he cannot let him live after he has seen his true self. Saying that, he slashes his sword towards Giju's neck, who was waiting for this moment, shouts out, "Reflect," causing Rogers to be confused. Just then, a bright light begins to emanate from the hero's body, successfully using Bernhardt's skill to reflect the accumulated damage, shocking Rogers. Suddenly, a blast erupts from the area, covering everything with dust and smoke. After some time, Rogers lies on the ground with a coughing fit, while Giju sits in front of him. The system notifies him that Bernhardt has reached its maximum accumulation limit and has started to disintegrate. With Bernhardt falling apart, Giju starts to step towards Rogers. As he reaches for him, he raises his sword into the air while Rogers begs for his life. However, without listening, Giju pierces his sword into Rogers' body, causing him immense pain and knocks him unconscious. Afterwards, Giju lies on the ground, feeling pain due to the aftereffects of Reflect, and thinking that it won't stop bleeding. Just then, he hears the voice of a girl calling him brother and asking if he is alright. Turning to the voice, he sees a figure of a young girl standing near him and thinks of his sister Yujong. Asking what is he talking about, the girl states that she is Sujung and comes forward, which surprises him. Getting close, she asks if she saves him and gets him an elixir, what he would be willing to do for her. Would he give his life to her, or become her slave? Looking at her, Giju raises one finger, stating that he has one more request, to kill Iron Shield, and destroy the Iron Guild. Remarking that these are two requests rather than one, Sejong asks if they have an agreement. In response, our hero continues with his requests, wanting his other sword. Hearing this, she becomes annoyed, asking how many more extra conditions he was going to add. Just then, Bal, who was observing all this, comes to them, remarking that Giju is certainly an interesting person. To which Sejong agrees. Turning to Bal, Sejong reveals that from the looks of it, he appears good-natured, but is actually evil-natured inside, and someone was suppressing his true nature. Looking at how Rogers was stabbed, this was not something one does out of anger. Stating that he aimed directly for the vitals, remarking that it was his first time killing a person, yet he did it cold-heartedly and without a hint of hesitation. Pointing to Rogers, Bal asks what she plans to do with him, stating that while the wound seems to be fatal, but due to his high level, if left alone, he will recover over time. In response, Soo-young states that they will just leave him, and if he does recovers, this is his fate, and she remarks that it would be preferable for them to let him live. She states that revenge becomes sweeter the longer it lasts, and with the appearance of a purple aura. Her body starts to change. With her appearance completely changed, she states that it is the coming of the Demon King, to which Bal agrees. Telling him to keep quiet, she remarks that names like that are made up by people who don't know what they are talking about. Walking ahead with an overwhelming purple energy emanating from her body, she states that she will be the one to kill the Demon King. Meanwhile, Giju finds himself standing inside a dark cubicle space, realizing that this place is inside his dreams that have been haunting him for the last 5 years. Looking at the rope hanging in front of him, he stretches his hands towards it, remembering that this dream disappeared after he met Lu. Reaching outside the cubicle space, he grabs the rope and finds a bucket hanging down from it. This makes him realize that even after getting over a wall, he is still stuck in the well he was originally in. He thinks that even his dreams have started to mock him, and he was simply lucky to grab the rope that drew him up, and his own strength wasn't involved. Just then, someone appears behind him, calling him a loser, and asks how long he will be complaining about the broken link and the powers he borrowed. With a demon-like appearance, the creature tells him it doesn't matter if it earned or by luck, as long as you have the power, it is his power. Confused, he starts to ask who, when a voice from behind tells him that he is right. Turning around, he is surprised to see an angelic figure, and she states that all her power belongs to him, telling him not to despair. Just then, he opens his eyes and jerks up, awakened from his dreams. Bal remarks that Giju seems to have regained his senses. Upon noticing, he begins to wonder who this person was. He thinks of Sejong, wondering if he is someone related to the Demon King. Meanwhile, Bal smiles back, stating that the recovered sword is next to him. Upon looking down, he finds both El and Lu lying on the ground near him. Bal then tells him to rest for a little longer, stating that although they healed his wounds with potions, he should not move too much. Suddenly, the ground begins to shake, and the sky starts to turn red, making Giju confused. As he looks up towards the sky, he is shocked to find someone floating in the air. Suddenly, the ground starts to crack, and a massive blast erupts, sending huge rocks up in the sky. Giju in shock asks what it is, and Bal tells him that it is the Demon Commander, stating that it must be Giju's first time seeing it. Bal reveals that the gigantic demonic creature towers before them is the owner of this maze, the Demon Commander Haryond. Looking up at the formidable Demon Commander, Giju asks if it is really the gatekeeper, and Bal agrees, making him realize that he might have to fight with it. Meanwhile, Sejong floats in the air in front of the monster, with a confident smile on her face. Suddenly, the commander opens its eyes with a fierce glow in them and unleashes its powers, causing a gate to appear behind it, which shocks Giju. Gazing at the gate, Giju wonders how it is possible for a gate to appear inside another gate, while Bal tells him to stand behind him or he might die. Bal clenches his fist, causing a single drop of his blood to fall to the ground, creating a protective barrier around them. Looking at it, Giju becomes even more shocked and asks if this is really a barrier, to which Bal agrees, remarking that he is quite well informed. Meanwhile, through the portal created by the Demon Commander, deadly monsters starts to rush out and attack Sejong. As the monsters approach, she stands her ground and slowly begins to emit a strong energy that surrounds her. When the monsters close in to attack her, the layer of energy erupts, unleashes formidable ink flames, causing all the monsters to go flying backward. The ink flames then transform into a gigantic sword that Sejong effortlessly controls with a single move of her finger, leaving Giju amazed. Observing the gigantic sword raised high in the sky, Giju recalls Rogers's words about the fights resembling those between divine beings. Then the sword comes swinging downward at great speed, directed towards the demon commander, creating a massive explosion that destroys the entire forest. In the morning, after the relentless battle ends, the once green and thick forest appears to have been completely destroyed. Meanwhile, in the reward room, Giju opens the box containing the reward for clearing the gate and finds an elixir inside, while the egos congratulate him on his achievement. As Giju holds the box, he realizes that he has succeeded, though he feels more frustrated than happy given his situation. Sejong, who is standing beside him, states that she has kept her promise to help him, stating that Giju still has to take care of his own revenge, since he shouldn't expect her to help him with everything. Turning to her, Giju asks if Sejong is her real name, to which she confirms, also revealing that she is Korean as well. Sejong then opens her reward box and finds an elixir inside and ball. Her comrade also finds the elixir as reward inside his box. Then giving her bottle of elixir to Giju, Sejong tells him to keep it, surprising him. Stating that she is fulfilling the condition of helping him take revenge on the Iron Guild, she tells him to think of it as part of her job. She remarks that his body is not in good condition, and the elixir will completely heal him, making him capable of taking revenge. Handing him the bottle, she states that getting it was not her main goal, she only wanted to become a commander, surprising him with her gesture. Holding the bottle, Giju decides to stop comparing himself to others, and just grow stronger by himself. After a little contemplation, he turns to her and asks if there is something she wants from him, in return for giving him such a valuable item. He asks if she intends to make him her lifetime slave, but she disagrees, stating that she only wants him to become her disciple, surprising him even more. She states that he is currently useless, because he is weak, and instructs him to come to her after he clears the 50th floor of the tower, so that she can train him. Sejong then uses her skill to instill something to the side of his head, saying this is the evidence of the existence of the contract, which causes him a slight pain. She states that he does not have any skills or abilities at the moment, and advises him to try to learn as much as he can. Remembering something, she states that she looked at his sword earlier, remarking that they are very unique, and says that she knows a way to strengthen one of them, surprising him. However, before that, she instructs him to drink the elixir she gave him, stating that it is a risky method and he needs to be very prepared. Meanwhile, in another part of the forest, the members of the Iron Guild are still engaged in fighting against Athena's group. As Giju stands, holding just his white swords, both El and Lu tell him not to trust Sejong, stating that she is a very dangerous woman. However, in spite of their words, Giju is facing off with Iron Shield, who stands at a distance, looking at him. Seeing Sejong behind Giju, Iron Shield addresses her as the demon, stating that she stole the boss, while they were not looking. In response, Sejong clarifies that it was not theirs in the first place, and encourages Giju to do what she taught him. Gathering his courage, Giju calls out to Iron Shield, stating that he will kill him. However, instead of getting scared, Iron Shield gives a cruel smile and rushes towards Giju at high speed, causing him to feel anxious. Reaching near him, Iron Shield remarks that Giju has changed a lot, and asks if he has become the subordinate of that demon, or if he always been one. However, considering that it does not matter, Iron Shield states that he will have to kill Giju here. As Iron Shield charges at him, intent on killing him, Giju recalls when he drank the elixir in the reward room. While drinking the elixir, he received a system notification telling him that his body was being fixed, as Sejong and Bal looked at him in curiosity. After drinking it, Giju turned to Sejong, remarking that he did not feel any changes in his condition. Agreeing, Sejong revealed that the changes were in his abilities and latent powers, which left him speechless, while changes to his body will be small for now. She further stated that those small changes could determine a player's life or death. She told him that the most noticeable change made by the elixir was improving his senses. Thinking about that, Gyeju successfully dodges Iron Shield's swift attack, allowing him to distance himself. Realizing that the elixir really had an impact on his senses, Gyeju thinks that the moves that were previously unfamiliar to him are now becoming easier for him to understand. While he was fighting Iron Shield, Sejong stands at a distance, quietly watching him, and congratulates him in getting one step closer to becoming a high ranker. He remembers the Demon King telling him that he was no match for a strong person like Iron Shield just yet, and that the best he could do against him was to avoid one attack of his. Therefore, she suggested he not try too hard to win against him, when there are other easier solutions. Remembering that, he looks calming at Iron Shield and thinks that it isn't ignorance but his confidence in his ability. Meanwhile, Iron Shield looks at him closely and starts to figure out that between his growth and contact with the Demon King, he starts to get serious and activates the power of his holy sword. He rushes towards Gyeju at a very fast speed to launch an attack. Recalling Sujung's advice to not be intimidated and just do it, Gyeju blocks the attack with his sword. As a result of the collision between Elle and the Holy Sword, Elle's abilities get awakened, and she starts to absorb the powers of the Holy Sword, leaving Iron Shield shocked. However, due to Gyeju's low level of abilities, only a fraction of the Holy Sword's powers are absorbed. After the absorption is complete, Gyeju smiles, knowing that his tactics of embarrassing and demotivating Iron Shield were to create distance between them. Then taking out the thread ball, he starts to activate Arachne's web, which slowly surrounds him, making Iron Shield realize what he is trying to do. Stating that he cannot let him go so easily, Iron Shield charges at him with his sword, but before he could reach him, Gyeju gives him the finger and ports away, leaving Iron Shield to miss with his swing. Realizing that he has disappeared, Iron Shield feels increasingly frustrated and enraged. While he is standing there, Sejong calls out to him from behind, asking if they could have a chat. As he turns around, he sees her surrounded by her ink flames ready to fight. Outside, a car arrives at the gate, and Seong-hoon comes out of it, happy to see Gyeju waiting for him at a distance. They head back to Korea, and the agent also helps Gyeju takes his mother from the hospital back to their house. Talking to Taeshik on the phone, he informs him about the situation and states that he will be waiting for Taeshik's return to Korea. After hanging up the call, Gyeju turns to Seong-hoon, thanking him for all his help and telling him to take care. Waiting patiently, as his mother opens her eyes and finds him sitting beside her, he is happy to see her awake and asks if she is alright. In response, his mother states that she only wanted to see him one last time before she dies and starts to cry, thanking him for coming back. However, Gyeju assures her that everything is going to be alright. His mother states that there is something she always wanted to tell him, and is about to reveal it when her condition starts to deteriorate. Telling her to hold on for a moment, Gyeju quickly opens the bottle of elixir and makes her drink it. After drinking it, she starts to calm down, and a bright light emanates from her body, beginning the healing process that makes Gyeju relieved. Feeling relaxed after such a long time, Gyeju collapses down near her mother's bed, and also goes into a deep sleep. Watching him, Elle calls out to him while Lu states that he has gone through so much in a single day. Elle expresses concern about getting more involved with Sejong, but Lu says there's nothing they can do and suggests letting Gyeju rest for a while. Late at night, while Gyeju is still deep in sleep, light starts to emanate from his mother's body, which starts to get brighter by the second, and then she suddenly opens her eyes. Well, stay tuned to find out what happens in the next episode. Until next time.